Because here is the truth I think most women do not hear enough of. Your ability to meet your current self determines how clearly you'll receive the path to your future self. When you abandon who you are now in pursuit of who you think you should become, you disconnect from the very compass designed to guide you forward. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked. It's Olivia here, and today we're going to explore questions that so many of us carry, often with a mix of anxiety and longing that are, what if I don't know who or what I am becoming? What if I don't know my purpose, my direction, or my next chapter? And what do I do when nothing feels clear? If you're in a season where you sense change coming, but you can't see it yet, if you feel like you're supposed to be becoming someone, but you don't know who that is, or if you've been trying to figure out your purpose or your path and everything still feels foggy, then this episode is going to support you. Because by the end of today's conversation, you'll better understand these things. Firstly, why not knowing your future self is not a problem, and why it may actually mean you're right on time. You'll also understand how to reconnect with and rediscover the version of you that exists right now, the one who actually holds the clarity you've been seeking, and simple intuitive practices to help you stop chasing a future version of yourself and start finding the magic, meaning, and grounding in who you are today. So as always, I'm incredibly grateful that you're here with me. So let's take a breath, drop in, and explore this together. So many of us carry this quiet fear that if we don't know who we want to become or what we're meant to do, that it then somehow makes us less than, less successful, less worthy, less aligned, like everyone else is running ahead, building these clear, linear lives, while we're holding question marks in scattered puzzle pieces. But the truth as I see it is this belief that you must know who you're becoming, what you're going to be doing, when it's going to happen, are some of the biggest illusions of modern womanhood and society. We are conditioned to believe that purpose is a destination, that clarity comes from projecting ourselves into a future version with all the answers, and that our worthiness is measured by how clearly we can describe who we're going to be in 5 years from now or what we're going to have accomplished. Yet that's not how soul truth works. That's not how intuition works. And that's not how actually becoming the next version of ourselves works. We evolve through lived experience, not imagined expectation. We gain clarity through embodiment, not forecasting into the future. And we understand ourselves through presence, not prediction. So when you ask yourself, who am I going to become? And maybe that riddles you with confusion and a want to know more or to have the next steps clear and decided. I really see that the deeper, more life-changing question is to actually shift to focusing on, who am I right now? Do you know her? Not the version you're trying to fix or perfect, but the one that exists in this moment. Do you know what she loves? What feels nourishing? What drains her, what lights her up, what her body is whispering for, what she's tired of managing or pretending or performing on, and what she's craving emotionally, spiritually, and creatively. If you take a moment to drop in, can you actually feel her essence? Can you name her desires without censoring? And can you witness her without judging her and where she is? Because here's the truth I think most women do not hear enough of. Your ability to meet your current self determines how clearly you'll receive the path to your future self. When you abandon who you are now in pursuit of who you think you should become, you disconnect from the very compass designed to guide you forward. And when that happens, that's when life feels foggy, confusing, overwhelming, and even directionless. Not because you don't have a purpose, but because you're not anchored in the only space where purpose ever reveals itself, the present. And I know the fear underneath this, the thoughts of, if I slow down and meet myself where I am, what if I find nothing? Or what if I don't like what I find? But that's an illusion, because when you meet yourself honestly, respectfully, tenderly, you can find everything. Because purpose is not your identity. Purpose is an unfolding. Purpose is participation with your life. It is not your plan. And when you're in that space, this in between that isn't actually about being stuck, but more about being unshaped, the mind jumps in and goes, well, then what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? What am I moving forward? Where do I actually make decisions? But here's where we can better look at purpose and our misunderstanding of it, because that's why those questions are coming up. Purpose is not always a job or a calling or a shiny identity waiting for you in the future. Purpose isn't something you discover on a mountaintop or in this perfectly articulated 5-year plan. Purpose is a feeling of being connected, aligned, and present with the truth of who you are in this moment. Your purpose is not out ahead of you. Yes, you can grow into or learn more about your purpose as you move into your future self, but it starts inside of you. It lives in the way you show up for your life. It lives in the way you listen to yourself, to your heart, to your intuition. And it lives in the things that light you up, the things that ground you and that feel nourishing, the things that feel like home. That's the compass of purpose. It lives in what feels honest for you right now, not what's going to look impressive or most successful from the outside. And this is why clarity doesn't come from thinking about the future. It comes from reconnecting with yourself in this present moment and knowing that often you will not understand how it all works out or why until you've lived through it. Think about the versions of yourself you've already been, that you've already lived through. The stories, the lessons, the experiences, the wisdom you've already gained and how that shaped who you are now. You didn't know who you would become. You didn't know you would become you, until after you lived through it. Your clarity always comes in hindsight. It's a beautiful gift. And your alignment always comes from the experience. And your strength comes from the seasons you never planned. So if you're in this place where you don't know your next pursuit, passion, niche, identity, or success story, you are not lost. You are a bit undefined, and that is fertile ground, my friend. If you're in this space, then this is your season to reconnect with your inner landscape, to listen for the subtle cues, to rediscover the small joys, to pay attention to what sparks curiosity or feels like a soft yes, and to let yourself be a woman in process instead of a woman with a plan. So how do you stop pining for a future self and find contentment and clarity with who you are now? Here are a few simple, intuitive things I can offer. First, soften the pressure to define your entire life. I know how much that feels good. And I know how much being in control and having a plan can ease your mind. And yet, I'm asking you to let yourself live in the question without demanding an answer. And release the idea that you need to earn worthiness through control and through certainty. Second, start asking yourself, what feels true for me today? What feels nourishing? What feels heavy? What tiny desire am I ignoring because I've convinced myself it's not enough? And investigate those questions and take small actions on them. And I truly think that for many of us, when we feel into those things, we often think the answer is to do more, to take another workshop, to start the next habit, to buy the thing or optimize your routine. And yet in these seasons, clarity usually comes from doing less so you can feel more. And that's where these questions can help you identify where to start to enact that. Because you're busy, because there's a lot to uphold and maintain and continue doing. And what you really need to help you better understand and be in that present moment is to actually find less, to find more silence, to find more space, to find the time where you can release and let your nervous system regulate instead of being fully on and activated so much. That in itself is going to help you remember who you are now, what you need now, and the magic that that can offer. And finally, remember this: you will become many things in your lifetime, many versions, identities, and iterations of yourself. So you don't need to know them now. You just need to know the one who's speaking through you in this moment. Because she is not a placeholder. She's not unfinished or behind. She is always a doorway to everything you're seeking if you're willing to explore. And that's where your intuition and having practices and rituals and a space to connect to yourself become essential. Again, it's not in that big, overwhelming, add another thing to your plate kind of way. It's in the simple, quiet, supportive ways and practices that help bring you back into your body, into the present, into the safety of yourself, so you can better align and create the life you are wanting and become who you are seeking to become. That happens here. And we often think that's never enough, that we're always just trying to move the needle to the next thing. And yet it feels so important to really recognize and honor and start to pull that attention back into the now. You can feel what you want and hope to become. You can imagine and anchor and really set intentions for the things that feel most aligned. But again, where are you doing that? You're doing that here. You're doing that now. And so you need time and habits and space to actually enact those things, because that's where reconnection happens. That's where you can discover more of your purpose and that feeling that is going to guide you. Because it's not about the external version that people will meet or talk about. It starts in the internal meaning that comes from being present, attuned, and honest and connected with yourself. So here's what I want you to feel in your bones. When you can't see what's next, it's because you're being called to meet her now. Not your future self, not your ideal self, even your healed self. It's the self who exists here, the one that's breathing and listening to my voice and asking you to stop racing ahead long enough to notice her. To remember that your future self is built in these moments here and now. And instead of worrying or fretting about the next steps or what you will do and when you will be there, can you remember the magic in the here and now? In loving up and into the version of yourself that you sit in today. That's where you find true peace. That's where you can become curious and start to notice the breadcrumbs that are all around you. And that's where you can weave in magic today by choosing to do so. I can absolutely guarantee you that the next version of you is forming quietly, naturally, behind the scenes. And your only job right now is to stay connected to the woman you already are, because she is your doorway to your becoming. And she is the one who needs tending. So the more grounded, present, and anchored you feel in this moment, the more effortlessly your next chapter will reveal itself. Not through pressure or even really planning, but through that alignment that you cultivate within and then expand externally. So do your best to recognize and honor the you that you are right now. And as we close today, if you take nothing more than this one thing with you, remember that you don't find yourself by projecting into the future. You find yourself by coming home to the woman who's living inside your present moment. She's going to hold your clarity. She holds your direction and the answers to what you're seeking, and she holds that next step. So thank you for being here, for showing up, for exploring these tender questions that most people are too afraid to ask themselves or are unsure where to start. If this episode resonated or you enjoyed it, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed to the show and left a review, or even shared it with a friend who pops into mind. Your presence here matters more than you know, and I'm so grateful I get to walk this path with you. So thank you again for showing up, for listening, and for being a curious explorer. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.